Kirsty Cotton's life, or afterlife if you please, took a pretty wild turn as she embraced her new role as the Hell Priestess and stepped into the shoes once filled by Captain Elliot Spencer, aka Pinhead. It's like she's got a new job, but it's in hell, and she's all about balancing the notorious duties with her own good intentions. Writer Brandon Seifert and internationally acclaimed artist Amy Zhang worked on Hellraiser: The Road Below, a comic that feels like Batman Year One, but for Kirsty Cotton, the new Pinhead. So in this video, we will dive into this 4-issue miniseries and see how Kirsty deals with her new day job. So let's begin, shall we? But before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. Thank you, and let's begin. You don't get to choose your family. Chapter 1 dives right into Kirsty's dilemma. She's chatting with a female Cenobite, and it's clear she's in a bit of a pickle about what to do as the new Pinhead. You could say it was like her first day at a job from hell, literally, but she's determined to do things differently than her predecessor, the OG Pinhead, aka Elliot Spencer. But of course, Kirsty is telling a story to the female Pinhead, more like seeking advice, maybe even validation. So the story shifts to a flashback in New Orleans. We meet Rhea Wolf, working at an antique and occult shop owned by a man named Otto. Otto's pretty stoked about Rhea's sales skills, joking that she could even sell ice cream to the lactose intolerant. Otto has to deliver a few packages at the post office, so he leaves and Rhea asks him to tell her daughter, Cordeal, to meet with her if he happens to see Cordeal. The two actually bump into each other. Cordeal asks Otto to tag along with her, but he's busy, so Cordeal rocks up at the shop and gets an earful from her mom. Thankfully, a customer cuts the rebel she is, decides to touch everything back there. That's when she spots the infamous Lament configuration, aka the Lemarchand puzzle box. She's about to touch it when Rhea catches her, telling her off for messing with the antiques. Cordeal and Rhea have a heated argument where Rhea tells her how New Orleans is a dangerous place. You see, Cordeal wants to take up a job, but Rhea won't have it. After Cordeal storms out, Rhea goes back to the mysterious customer, a dude in shades, a hat, and a trench coat. He's chill about the whole mother-daughter drama and drops a line about not getting to pick your family. The new demon in the block. So, while Rhea's chatting up this mysterious dude at her shop, he's sneakily snapping pics of her and her daughter Cordeal and sending him off somewhere. Turns out this guy's a nethercoat, and he's got this creepy grin like he's just hit the jackpot finding Rhea and Cordeal. Later we see Rhea visiting her husband's grave, and who pops up? Mr. Creepy Shop Guy, aka Joseph Nethercoat. Rhea tries to warn him off, saying he's got no idea who he's messing with, but Joseph's like, surprise, I'm a demon. And he knows exactly who Rhea is. Rhea's shocked with her. Well, by beef I mean that Rhea kinda decapitated Marine. I'll come to the why of it in a bit. We soon find out that the wolves and the nethercoats had been at each other's throats for ages, and of course they're not exactly humans. Rhea goes all ninja and chops off Joseph's arm, but he's not phased. Dude just regenerates a new one, making it clear that he's not as fragile as his wife and is a whole different level of scary. Joseph's moving in on Rhea, and you just know things are about to get even crazier. Rhea, done with a whole family feud drama, calls it ridiculous, but Joseph Nethercoat isn't ready to let bygones be bygones. He's all my way or the highway, and drops the bomb that his family knows about Rhea's daughter Cordeal, and they're planning to take her out. Naturally, Rhea won't just let him say whatever he wants, let alone do things, so she blasts Joseph with some serious energy, warning him to back off Cordeal or else. But Joseph, the tough nut that he is, just taunts her back. He tells her that even if she took him down, the rest of his family was still gonna come for Cordeal. Using the window she had just carved herself, Rhea bails, and the next thing we know, she's racing back to her shop, desperate to protect Cordeal. What's that thing they say about desperate times? Well, yes, Rhea summons a demon, Kirsty Cotton, using the Lemarchand puzzle box, hoping to end this feud once and for all. She's surprised to see Kirsty, a demon with multiple pins on her head instead of some horned demon. Kirsty's got questions, but Rhea's straightforward. She wants to sell her soul, and she's got a hit list. She tells Kirsty she wants this whole Nethercoat family gone. Rhea's pretty persuasive, and the first issue wraps up with Kirsty seemingly agreeing to Rhea's terms. Duty calls. As the story progresses, we dive deeper into the deadly family feud. Kirsty Cotton is caught in Rhea's binding glyph, something she explains to the female Cenobite in hell. It's like she's stuck between a rock and a hard place. Flashback to the past, Rhea's trying to convince Kirsty to take out the entire Nethercoat family, but Kirsty is adamant about not making any deals with Rhea despite being a hell worker and insists she's not evil. Rhea, skeptical of a demon's honesty, gets a sharp retort from Kirsty, threatening to enjoy dragging her to hell. As Rhea attempts to escape, she performs the Ritual Romanum, an exorcism spell on Kirsty, who mocks Rhea's attempts. The scene gets intense as Rhea unleashes a powerful spell, stunning Kirsty, but Kirsty's resilience shines through as she breaks Rhea's binding spell. Meanwhile, Cordelia is trying to catch Rhea, completely unaware of the supernatural showdown that has started. She leaves home, heading to the shop, not knowing that Joseph is hot on her trail. Back at the shop, Kirsty's got Rhea in a bind with her white robes, demanding to know why Rhea wants the Nethercoats dead. Rhea, defiant and hurling abuses, is forced to talk about Cordelia. The tension escalates as Rhea casts another spell on Kirsty, causing excruciating pain by tearing a pin from her face. Rhea, seizing the opportunity, taunts Kirsty about the agony of removing all her pins, demonstrating the potential pain. Despite the unbearable torture, Kirsty manages to cover Rhea's eyes and mouth, effectively subduing her. As Kirsty starts to drag Rhea to hell, Cordelia arrives. She's shocked to see what's happening. Kirsty, torn between duty and empathy, almost regrets taking Rhea to hell in front of her daughter. But duty calls. As Cordelia reaches out to save her mother, Rhea releases a final burst of energy, pushing Cordelia back and closing the portal to hell right before her eyes. Cordelia is left utterly distraught, staring blankly at the walls after witnessing the horrifying event. Like mother, like daughter, Kirsty Cotton's been spilling the beans about the whole New Orleans mess to the female Cenobite. She's feeling trapped in Rhea's magic circle, but the Cenobite calls her diligent because she brought the soul and the body of Rhea, someone who had summoned Kirsty. Cut to Rhea, who's now in her custom-made hell. She finds herself in a morgue of sorts, but all the corpses are those of her daughter, each with a different style of dismemberment. She's banging on the door, desperate to escape, but you do not walk out of hell by banging on its doors, right? I mean, I think that it doesn't work like that. Back in New Orleans, Cordelia's freaking out at Otto's shop, ranting about a pin-faced woman dragging her mom into a wall. Otto's convinced she's high and trashing his store. Cordelia bolts, ends up at a park, and starts bawling her eyes out. That's when Joseph Nethercoats shows up, calling her name and asking about Rhea. Cordelia was shocked, recognizing him from the store. Joseph tries to play it cool, saying he just wants to chat and explain Rhea's actions. He reveals the long-standing blood feud between the Wolves and the Nethercoats and his own nightmarish form, which totally freaks Cordelia out. In a panic, she blasts him with some serious energy, just like her mom. Through a mind meld with Joseph, we get the scoop of the feud's origin back in the 80s. Both families, hiding from humans, ended up teaming up as outsiders. But then Joseph's wife, Maureen, gets killed by Rhea in retaliation for some betrayal, leaving Joseph heartbroken. Now back to the present, Joseph's about to take out Cordelia when Otto steps in, gun in hand, and shoots Joseph. Joseph leaves them, but warns Cordelia to find her mom because he's got unfinished business with her. Cordelia rushes back to the shop with Otto, determined to save her mom from hell. He asks Otto for the Lim Archand puzzle box and hints she's gonna call up Kirsty. Outside, Joseph's waiting, plotting with his kin about their next move. But then there's Kirsty caught in the glyph, facing off with Cordelia. Cordelia demands her mom back or else Kirsty's dead. The final act. In the last issue, Kirsty Cotton is still narrating her wild New Orleans saga to the female Cenobite in hell. Turns out, she's been caught twice in Rhea's binding glyph. Back in the thick of it, Cordelia, Rhea's superpowered teenage daughter, unleashes her fury on Kirsty, but Kirsty's not down for the count. She breaks free and uses her robes and scarves to stop Otto. Just when she's figuring out what to do with him, Otto fires at Kirsty, but she accidentally grips his neck with her scarves, and since he had a heart condition, he dies on the spot. Cordelia gets freaked out and blames Kirsty for offing Otto. Despite Kirsty's attempts to explain, she has to suspend Cordelia upside down and makes it clear that Rhea deserved her fate for summoning her to kill a family. Telepathically, linking with Kirsty, Cordelia shows her memories, making Kirsty realize she's messed up big time. Determined to fix the mess, Kirsty offers Cordelia a choice. Join her in hell as a jailer, or she could be dragged like a prisoner. Kirsty explains that hell's about order and punishing the guilty, and the Cenobites punish and torture her because it's their job. She convinces Cordelia that joining her can protect her and her mom from the Nethercoats. Cordelia agrees, and Kirsty takes her to hell's transformation chamber. Meanwhile, Rhea's in her own hell and learns that Kirsty's been paroled, but she's in for a shock. The new Cenobite is Cordeal, now with tentacles for fingers and a shiny bald head, all transformed and mutilated. Cordeal embraces her new role and tells Rhea she's finally got purpose and sense in hell. Rhea goes into the trauma, but their mother-daughter moments cut short by the Nethercoat's arrival. Cordeal pushes Rhea aside, calling it a family affair, and goes full Cenobite on them, brutally killing them, including Joseph. After the carnage, Cordeal leaves with Kirsty and takes the puzzle box, bidding Rhea a cold goodbye. Kirsty wraps up her story with a female Cenobite who asks her how it feels to be the victimizer for once. The Cenobite emphasizes they're just serving justice and order. The story ends with Rhea at the cemetery where she meets a man named Harry D'Amour, who offers her weapons for revenge against Hell. So it seems that this story is far from over, but I'm not entirely sure if it will be taken up. Marvelous verdict. So Kirsty's in this spot because she was trying to save her loved ones. She's now ruling Hell, dealing with a whole Cenobite crew. She knows her responsibilities, but doesn't really enjoy hurting people. Seifert, the brains behind the story, stuck his nails deep into the Hellraiser lore. In Clive Barker's Hellraiser issue number 13, Kirsty's been doing the Hell Priestess job for a while, but there's this whole chunk of her story missing. Seifert dives into that gap, exploring Kirsty's life as the new Pinhead. It's like the writer wanted to do a Batman Year One with Kirsty, so she has still got this human side and continues to cling on to it, which makes her first days in Hell pretty awkward. Seifert does a great job with some dark humor, which is a bit new and different if you're familiar with the previous Hellraiser stuff. It's not the kind of humor that'll have you rolling on the floor, but more of a subtle character-driven kind. It pops up in scenes like the face-off between Rhea and Kirsty. They're both feisty, neither backing down easily. Kirsty's not as jaded as Spencer, and she's still got a bit of that pure-hearted vibe despite being stuck in Hell. Now, Jang's artwork really zooms in on the mother-daughter drama between Rhea and Cordeal. You can see the family resemblance in their faces and hairstyles. The art also shows how Kirsty's feeling about her new pin-filled look. Hellraiser: The Road Below is a solid entry point for newbies. Seifert and Jang are injecting fresh ideas into the Hellraiser world, something the sequels kind of missed the mark on. They're keeping it real and adding some new twists to the classic franchise. If you like our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.